Hey everybody, Zach Butler YGO here. Video number 2 this week coming out. We're going to be discussing the Purrely deck. This is one of the decks I've been testing for the new format. I'm very excited to finally get to play it. For those who might have been following me on TCG Player, you might know that I've actually written about this deck in the past on its initial release in Amazing Defenders back in January. So getting to play an updated version with Lily and Sleepy Memory is something I'm really excited to do. This is a deck I think that has a ton of potential. It might need a Forbidden and Limited List adjustment to Kashtira and Sprite, but I think that this is definitely going to be a deck that you will want to be familiar with. So I wanted to show you the current baseline build that I have that if you're very unfamiliar with it, I would recommend giving a shot just so you can understand the basic interactions of the deck. As always, if you like this kind of content, let me know with a comment, like, and a subscription. That'd be great. And if you want to purchase any of the cards found in this deck, use the TCG affiliate link in the description below. So, also, please forgive any sniffling. I, once again, am plagued with allergies, so that's going to be pretty rough. But let's get into it. So first we have for our Purrely engine, we have 3 Purrely. What this card does is on normal or special summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 Purrely card from those excavated to your hand, and then once per turn you can reveal, or actually it's not once per turn, then you can reveal 1 Purrely quick play spell in your hand and use this as well as the quick play spell as the material to summon the corresponding Purrely Exceeds monster, which I will show you soon. Then we have 2 Purrely Lily. Purrely Lily. Yeah. This is the new card out of Cyberstorm Access. What Lily does is on summon lets you take a Purrely card from your graveyard, or a non-Purrely non-quick play spell. That's really hard to say. A non-quick play spell Purrely card from your deck and add it to your hand. So you can add another copy of Lily. You can add Purrely herself. You can add the field spell, or you can add the trap or my friend Purrely. And then you can take a Purrely spell from your grave and do the same thing as with the regular Purrely, except you're just using it from the grave. All of the Purrely spells are really good too, which I'll be going over all their effects here in just a moment. But those are your 6 engine monsters. Next you have 3 Pretty Memory. So all the Purrely spells share the same first bulleted effect, but they also have a primary effect. So the primary effect of Pretty Memory is that each player gains 1,000 life points. And then it's got 2 bulleted effects. The first one, like I said, they all share, which is that you can, on resolution, discard 1 card and summon a level 1 Purrely monster from your deck. The second one is that a Purrely monster with this as a material gains the following effect. And the effect that Pretty Memory gives it is that once per turn, you can send 1 other card you control to the graveyard, and then target 1 card your opponent controls, and send that card, or attach it to the Purrely Exceeds as a material. So it lets you get rid of opponent's monsters. It does target, though, which is something to keep in mind for, Avermax and things like that. Next, we have 3 Delicious Memory. This one lets you choose 1 monster in the field, and until the end of the next turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle. And then, what is the last part? And then, of course, it's got the same bulleted effect of special summoning Purrely. But what this one does when it's attached is it gives your monster 300 attack and defense for each material under it. So that can add up very quickly since you're burning through all these spells. 3 Happy Memory lets you choose 1 card in the field, and the next time it would be destroyed. It is not destroyed. The first time it would be destroyed, and then its secondary effect is that it can attack a number of times up to the number of Happy Memories attached to it plus 1. So if you have 3 Happy Memories under your card, it can attack 4 times. Monsters specifically, which is pretty awesome. That's actually an OTK tool because you can just use Happy Purrely Happy and keep searching out Happy Memories and attack and clear a bunch of monsters. And then there is Purrely Sleepy Memory, which says that the next battle or effect damage you take this turn is reduced to 0, and then this is one of the reasons why the deck is, this is actually the main reason I think this deck is so good besides the extra deck, is that its secondary effect is that during your opponent's standby phase, you can draw 1 card for each copy of Sleepy Memory under it. So if you have 3, you can draw 3 cards on your opponent's standby phase, and thanks to the trap card letting you rank up, you can actually draw 6 cards. And that's one of the reasons why this deck is so good, is because it gets to see so much of the engine and the non-engine on such a short investment that you can really surge ahead of your opponents. So then for the non quick play Purrely spells, we have 3 My Friend Purrely. This lets you pay 500 and take 3 Purrely cards from your deck. Your opponent randomly adds them to your hand. The other 2 are shuffled back. And then if a Purrely monster, Xyz monster, is sent to your graveyard by your opponent's card, you can take up to 3 Purrely quick play spells and add them back to your hand from your grave, which is just ridiculous. So it gives you just a ton of advantage. And then I only play 1 straight Purrely Street. This is extremely searchable, so I don't necessarily agree with playing more, but I might also just be totally wrong. Like I said, this is just like a first draft. What this does is that Purrely monsters on the turn they're summoned cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. And then during the end phase, you can attach a Purrely quick play spell to a Purrely monster you control as a Xyz material. And let's see. Oh yeah, if a Purrely Xyz monster leaves the field because of your opponent's card, you can summon a level 1 Purrely monster as well. That part doesn't come up as often, but being able to just make it so your monsters are untargetable and being able to attach more materials is huge. And then 1 Purrely Leap. This lets you rank up a Purrely Xyz monster. It also allows you to banish it to target 3 Purrely monsters in your grave and put them back in the deck. So it gives you a bit more of a grind game. So like I said, that's the Purrely engine part of the deck. And then you have a ton of room for non-engine. And because you're drawing so many cards, you want them to actually be hand traps and not board breakers, because you want them to be live cards that you're drawing in your opponent's turns. You're drawing up to 6 cards. So I play 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Joel Mockbird, which is kind of like mandatory this format, I feel, because of the high number of Purrely decks and Kashtira, Super Heavy Samurai, and even Sprite can sometimes struggle with a well-timed Joel Mockbird. So that card gets a lot more utility than it did before. Then you've got the Gamma package as well. This is very good in this deck because each one of your Purrely quick play spells is a really good Ash target. And with how much you're adding to your hands off of like My Friend Purrely and stuff like that, sometimes your opponent will want to Ash Blossom. And it's also good against like Ogre on the My Friend Purrely and things like that. Speaking of Ogre, I play 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, 2 Effect Veiler. The reason for 2 and 2 is that I wanted to have 13 hand traps because I wanted to fit in the 3 Santa Claus. You could definitely cut one of Santa Claus for like a third one of these too, but it gives you so much room for non-engine that you're going to see at least 2 in your opening hand very consistently. And this obviously is able to be changed depending on how the meta shifts. And of course, if we get a Forbidden and Limited list, it'll adjust accordingly as well. One key weakness, though, that is actually something to note in this deck is that 7 of your hand traps require being able to hit the graveyard, which means that a Rise Heart is very good against your deck, because those 7 cards now become completely unusable as long as it's on the field, and that's one of the reasons why Santa Claus is so important. Another reason why Santa Claus is so important in this deck is that it's a Kaiju that summons itself in defense position, so it means that you can attack into it with any of your Purrely Xyz monsters and guaranteed be able to get to a Zeus, which does matter a lot because this deck can make a very large Zeus. So that's the main deck. For the extra deck currently, I'll show you what I'm kind of working with. First we have Excel Stardust Dragon. To go with that, I play Baron de Fleur. The reason for that being that if you can Gamma on your turn, it's just a 1-card Baron de Fleur, because you'll Gamma summon Excel will summon back Gamma, and then you just make Baron, and now you have Baron to protect your Purrely plays from there. It doesn't come up terribly often, but it is something to consider. 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite. This is probably something I'm going to cut. It's a pretty greedy play, but it also just deck thins by 1, and you want to go through as much of your deck as you can on turn 1, so it lets you do that. 1 Slacker Magician. This is a card I'm a big fan of. What it does is once per turn you can detach material, and then it can't be destroyed by battle. Once per turn it can be destroyed by battle, and then during either player's turn when a card or effect is activated that targets this, you detach material to negate and destroy that card. So it's a really good way to cheat out a Zeus if you don't want to, or you can't summon one of your Purrely Xyz monsters. Then 1 Assembled Nightingale, just for OTKs and time tricks. For the Purrely Xyz monsters, there's actually very few of them. There's 2 Plump, which is kind of the main one that you want to summon, because it lets you get the, hilariously enough, the fattest Noir, because this lets you take 2 material or 2 spells per turn and put them from your grave under it. You can detach 2 materials to what was it? or no, and then up to 3 times per turn you can attach material, or attach as a quick play spell, or purely quick play spell you activate to it as a material. Sorry that I have to read all these. I usually am much more familiar with the deck, but it's been so long since I've played them, so you'll have to forgive me on that one. 1 happiness. This is like your OTK machine. If you summon this with Happy Memory, you attack, you get another Happy Memory, you activate the Happy Memory, attach it, attack again, get another one, attach again, and then usually if you have like a Delicious Memory or something out of that, it's just gaining attack points every time, and that can also lead to a huge Zeus. 1 beauty. Beauty is a monster negation by attaching 2 materials, and then up to thrice per turn, when you activate a purely quick play spell, you can attach it to this as a material, and then change the battle position of a monster, which is really good, actually. That can sometimes help you get past walling monsters. And then 1 Downward Magician for Zeus plays, 2 Noir. So this is like your main card. What Noir does is that it lets you, if it has, you rank this up by summoning it over a purely monster with 5 or more materials. And then while you have that many materials, it's unaffected by your opponent's cards. And then actually not even once per turn, you can just attach 2 to target a card in your opponent's field or graveyard and put it back to the bottom of their deck. So this is a really good interruption tool, and while it has 5 or more materials, it's just unaffected by your opponent's cards, which is really one of the reasons why cards like Santa Claus are coming into the format right now, because you want to make sure that you're able to out your opponent's Noir without having to make them put back so many of your resources and put you further behind. Then 1 happiness, same rank up requirement, 5 or more materials. If it has 5 or more, it can do burn damage. This is really not that great of a card. Actually, I've considered cutting it altogether. Because I do want to consider playing cards like Donner, Dagger for Hire, because of cards like Contact C being so good right now against this deck, because if you're only playing these and you summon a Purrely and they summon a Contact C, if you aren't playing a Link, you just have no out. So that's something to consider as well. And then the last 2 cards are 2 Divine Arsenal Zeus. So that's the first draft Purrely deck. Like I said, it's very early on, and I'm still learning a lot about it as I go. Each day I'm changing things. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've had success with Purrely, let me know. It's a ton of fun to play the deck, and I'm really excited to see how it does in the new format. Until next time, though, have a wonderful night.